I found a small business owner who walked away with $20,000 from First Citizens Bank with no proof of income required. Let's face it, many businesses don't have perfect, consistent revenue, and getting hit with "we need your tax returns" or "send us your bank statements" can feel like a dead end. But knowing that you can still get a high credit limit with all that hassle is a total game changer. And coming up, you'll find the shockingly small amount you can get away with depositing into your business account and still get approved, and the 3 hacks you can use to get approved for high limit business cards without perfect business credit. And this business owner wasn't actively, hunting for new credit cards, but during their usual rounds of internet research, they stumbled across something most people would completely miss. First Citizens Bank offers a 0% intro APR for 12 months on both purchases and balance transfers for their business credit card. And you know how rare these offers are, right? Especially ones that are quietly tucked away, not plastered across every ad you see online. So after finding this golden opportunity, they clicked the next steps button, and they fully expected to go through a smooth, straightforward online application process. But instead, they were met with a curveball. The website directed them to contact their local branch. A lot of us are used to dealing with nationwide banks where everything is so automated, and here was this mid-sized regional bank that actually wanted to talk to you. Now, lucky for them, the nearest branch was just 800 feet away from where they were staying at the time. So they picked up the phone and called, wondering how this would play out. The person who answered, a client investment specialist, wasn't just your average customer service rep. She explained that First Citizen Bank is a relationship bank, which means they don't just approve people randomly. They value building long-term relationships with their customers. And before you could even apply for their business credit card, you had to open up a business checking account with them first. And some of you who are new to the credit game might be thinking, just to get a credit card? I know it sounded like a lot at first. But here's the thing. It wasn't just about numbers for them. It was about the trust. The bank wants to know who you are as a business owner. Banks like First Citizens are different. They don't just look at your credit score. They want to build a relationship that goes beyond the credit card application. Next, the business owner learned something interesting. While you need to open the account in person, the actual credit card application doesn't require you to physically be at the bank. With any credit card application, there are always questions about how your credit will be evaluated. Now, this person wanted to know how First Citizens handles the credit pull. So the rep explained to them that the bank doesn't just look at one credit score. They pull from all 3 bureaus, personal and business, and then mix those together to come up with an internal rating. It's their way of getting a full, well-rounded picture of who you are as a business owner and as an individual. Naturally, the concern came up, won't that mean multiple hard inquiries on my credit report? No one really likes seeing multiple hard credit pulls, but that's how they were saying First Citizens operates. And the specialists reassured them that it's all part of their process for creating a more comprehensive profile. But before I get to all the exact data points they use to get approved, I need to let you know I just launched my 0% APR business credit card database. It comes with 500 plus banks that offer no interest for up to 18 months. You'll know which credit bureau each bank pulls from, the top banks in your state offering 0% funding. You'll see which banks let you open multiple credit products with just one hard pull. Plus, it includes every bank from my original 0% APR list. So just hit that link below to get instant access. Now, here's where things got really interesting for the business owner when it came time to share their credit details with the rep. If you've ever been in this situation, you know that moment of nervousness when you're about to lay out all your cards on the table and hope for the best. They started by sharing their personal credit scores, which thankfully were looking pretty solid. They had an overall credit utilization of 35%, a TransUnion score of 752, Experian score of 746, and an Equifax score of 753. On the business credit side, they already had a mix of cards that contributed to their overall profile. They had a Citizens Business Platinum card with a $25,000 limit on it and 35% utilization. They had another Elon-backed business card with a $3,000 limit and 47% utilization, which was a lower limit but still part of their active credit profile. Then they had a Ameris Bank business card, and that's also Elon-backed with a $3,000 limit and 47% utilization. Their Dun & Bradstreet score was 80, which is solid and right where you want it to be. But their Experian business score had recently dropped to 67, and they couldn't figure out why. It turned out the dip was likely due to a lack of reported net 30 accounts, which are important for building business credit. And here's the kicker. Their Equifax business score was 380, which as they put it, was really low. The reason? Only one trade line was reporting to Equifax. And you know, that's the frustrating part of building business credit. Not all your accounts report to all the bureaus, and that can really drag down your scores in places you don't expect. But despite these lower business scores, the person wasn't going to let it hold them back. They knew the personal credit side was good, and they were hoping that the bank would take a wide view of their entire credit profile. It was a nerve-wracking moment, but they stayed optimistic, knowing they had done everything they could up until that point. This really shows how credit can be so hit and miss. You're solid in one area and still working to improve in another. It's a great reminder that you don't need a perfect score across the board to make things happen. You just have to play the cards you've got and keep moving forward. Now, this is when the entrepreneur went in to set up their business checking account, and it really highlights the human element of dealing with banks. Things don't always go perfectly, but you find ways to make it work. So after that helpful call with the client investment specialist, they scheduled an in-person visit to the branch. And like any busy entrepreneur, they had a packed schedule that day. They asked if the process could be wrapped up within a specific time frame, making sure it wouldn't interfere with their client appointments later that afternoon. And the rep with the bank was super accommodating, agreeing to work around their schedule. Now, here's where things got a little hectic. In the confusion of getting to the bank and making sure everything was in order, they forgot to fund their account. You know, the whole reason for being there. I mean, it really happens to the best of us, right? But instead of panicking, they quickly ran over to the ATM, withdrew $100 and funded the account on the spot. And just like that, the problem was solved and the checking account was open. Sometimes you got to think on your feet, especially when things don't go exactly as you planned. Then it was time for them to answer a few questions for the bank rep. When asked about the purpose of the account, they gave an honest and simple answer. They said to establish a relationship. No need for anything fancy, just the truth. The bank had to ask some specific questions that can typically catch you off guard. For example, they wanted to know if anyone in the entrepreneur's family was a public official in a foreign country. They said nope. And if 80% of their business income came from one client, and they said no again. You can never be sure exactly what you'll be asked, but you got to stay calm and loose and answer honestly. When it came time for the credit card application, things moved a little faster than they expected. First Citizens Bank made the process surprisingly straightforward. All the usual documentation was needed, so the entrepreneur had already emailed over their articles of organization in advance to make things quicker. Once at the bank, they provided the essentials: ID, business EIN, social security number, and of course their annual gross income. Everything was smooth and the bank didn't ask for anything out of the ordinary. Then it was time to sign the forms, which they handled during the visit. After that, it was just a matter of waiting to hear back, though they really didn't have to wait long. Less than 30 minutes after leaving the bank, barely enough time to settle back in at home, the business owner's phone rang. It was the rep with some great news. They were auto-approved for a $20,000 credit limit on the business card with only a hard pull on their Experian business report. So despite all the concerns about their low business credit score, which had really been nagging them throughout the process, the rep reassured them that their personal credit profile was strong enough to secure the approval. In fact, the rep even praised their credit, saying it was fantastic. This just shows that sometimes, even if certain parts of your credit profile aren't perfect, you can still get a big win. This entrepreneur didn't just stumble into a $20,000 business credit card approval by chance. They took a series of smart and strategic steps that anyone could follow to boost their chances of approval, even if your business credit isn't perfect. Now, let's talk about their business credit. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But they were actively working on it, and that made a huge difference. They had a Dun & Bradstreet score of 80 with 6 different trade lines reporting from vendors like Staples, Quill, and Granger. Even though their Equifax business score was low at 380, it wasn't a deal breaker. And the entrepreneur already had 3 other business credit cards in play. They had the Citizens Business Platinum with a $25K limit, and then they had 2 other business cards with a $3,000 limit on it. While these cards had different utilization rates, their use showed that this business owner had experience managing business credit. These existing cards really help paint a picture of someone who understands how to handle credit, even across multiple accounts. And here's a key takeaway. They didn't just apply for the card online and hope for the best. They built a relationship with the banker first. First Citizens is known for being a relationship-based bank, which means they want to know who you are before they start handing out credit to you. So what did this entrepreneur do? They opened a business checking account to establish that relationship, and then they applied in person. This might seem like an extra step, but it made a world of difference. By taking the time to show they were serious about becoming a client, not just another random application, they positioned themselves as a trustworthy partner. And this approach likely helped offset any concerns the bank may have had about their lower business credit score. Now, some of you might not want to spend the time to create a relationship with a bank, and you might not even have good personal credit that you can really use to get approved for business cards like this one. But just know, even in a tough situation like that, you can still qualify for up to $250,000 in business funding with bad credit and no hard credit pull, because this next lender only looks at your business revenue, so there's no personal guarantee either. So check out the next video to learn about how to get approved for that, and thank you for watching.